Okay guys, for this week's video I'm going to do an unboxing of this chainsaw box. I'm not sure if this case is actually going to fit my chainsaw or not, but for some of you guys that might be on the fence about this product, we'll go ahead and open it up, see what's inside, what's required to put it together, and see if it really suits the purpose or not. I've read some reviews on these and there were a different number of concerns with it. We'll kind of look at some of those and also some of the videos that I looked at just to kind of get an idea about it. Guys are pulling a complete assembled carrying case out of a box, and as you can see with this one, some assembly is going to be required. Without further ado, let's get this thing out of the box and see what we got. That's completely empty. Here we are back from the store after replacing the box that was missing a lot of parts, and I already checked this one at the store to make sure I wasn't going to repeat that fiasco, but okay, so we got a back and bottom section. This is the bottom with straps to hold the saw down, and then that'll fold up. Have a top with a handle on it. Got the front piece. That's going to be the side with the saw blade sticking out. And we got the other end piece, which I guess one of these was missing out of the other box, and also we were missing. And then we got the scabbard, which was not in the box. And then that's another part that was missing. I got the latches and the hinge pins for assembling it all. Okay, starting to think we didn't have the instructions, but it was up in the top of the box. After looking at some of the reviews on these things, I saw a lot of people said you probably just throw these instructions away, but having some kind of physical idea of what it is you're trying to put together is a help. Checklist to make sure that you do indeed have the parts. Okay, it says on the instructions here, after unpacking the items in the cart and find the main body assembly D, which is showing the middle part of it, which would be the bottom and the back side of it, and the top lid and the front are all pre-assembled, and obviously that's not the case since my hinge pins are in the bag here with the latches. Not sure what changed there, but like I said, these things used to be fully assembled, and it looks like they were partially assembled, and now you have to put everything together. All the hinge pins are the same length, and I don't know if they're what kind of plastic they're made out of, but somehow you got to get these into a tight spot without damaging anything. There is some plastic that you can see inside of these holes, and it doesn't allow me to push that pin in there very easily at all, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that out a little bit. Okay, check these pins, and they're like .172, but as you rotate them, they go up to around 184, so it's a little under 3/16 of an inch. I ended up taking a hex key with a handle on it, and this one measures 156, and at its widest point it's 176, so it's still a little smaller than the pin, but I can put it into here, and with a little wiggle it goes in there and displaces that that plastic. You can see a little bit of it come loose there, and so it still should allow that pin to be kind of a press fit in there. Be real careful to push straight down on these pins. They do want to bend, and it would be easy to flex one off to the side and possibly injure it or make it even more difficult to put in. Probably have to use a little block of wood there to push that thing down the rest of the way. Now I'll just use this wood handle on my wire brush and push that thing back down where it belongs. Now we'll flip it over and see if I can accomplish the same thing on this side. That hinged the top part of it, and now I need to put the front door on. And by the way, that is a 5/32 hex key that I'm using. Being on the handle, it allows me to push it in there and wiggle it just a little bit to make sure those holes are clear. They're not that bad, but it makes it way easier to push those pins in once those holes have been cleared slightly, but they're still plenty tight. I also read in the reviews that some people recommended using a hammer at this point to tap these things into place. And there is part of the assembly where the instructions say you may need to use a rubber mallet to install the sides over these pins. Okay, that's everything with the hinges installed in it. Now we've got two end panels. One of them has a pop out in it for the scabbard, or you can put this back in its place if you're not going to use the scabbard. The end panels have handles on them, so obviously this way's up, but it also has a notch along here that fits into the door. So we have these pins that are in the ends of the case that we just assembled, and then the end plates have these holes in them that those fit into. So that has to be lined up over those pins and then driven down. Okay, well this whole operation of putting this thing together was a big gamble because I'm not putting a Husqvarna saw in it, so their recommendations of what'll fit in it had pretty much no meaning to where I'm going. I've got this guy that I wanted to put into a case. This is a MS462 Stihl chainsaw that has a 28-inch bar on it. So the 25-inch scabbard obviously doesn't cover things up, but it does fit inside the case here, so it does protect that part of it. I anticipated that more than likely I was going to remove the bar in order to store it in here, but even the dogs are fitting inside. It does nest back into the back here, and the tie down straps function for holding it in place. Other than that, it is a really tight fit. Right here in the front, the handle catches it a little bit, but it does go closed over the top of the handle. Okay, so there you go. You can get a 462 into that thing if you're interested in trying to try a different chainsaw in that style of a case. I like the square shape of it, that I can stack things on it, so when I transport it in a load, I don't have to be concerned about whether a clamshell fitted case is going to sit in place or roll around or have things fall off of it. So I don't know if I've committed some kind of sacrilege by putting a Stihl chainsaw into a Husqvarna case, but it just fits. It's really tight. These end plates are pretty obnoxious. Some of the features of this case is that it has a lot of depressions built into it for storing different things. So one of the places they identify is where you put one of your typical scrunch tools, and this one here, I guess you could probably fit it in there. It's a little bit too heavy in the shank to be able to push it down in there without, looks like some pretty considerable force, but maybe I can work it in there somehow. I did get a hand file kit for a chainsaw. I thought it was for this chainsaw, but right now all I've got is the RS chain on it, which is a full chisel, and makes these kind of worthless for that thing. You have the flat file for working your gauge height, but that seems to fit in there kind of okay. I don't know if it would stay put all that well, but with the gauge on it, that part's not going to do me anything. So that would have to be taken apart and left in there loose, or I guess I just throw my whole case in there somewhere. There is a cavity in the case where you could put a bottle of your mix oil. There is a place down here for a small bottle of bar oil, but I don't see myself using that kind of a thing. When I first started looking at these, I realized that you could get a different scabbard that fits into the case, but I'm not sure what size that would be, if it would go out long enough. Obviously this scabbard here is enough to do the job of what it needed, but it won't be retained in there. It still would be loose. There is a place up in the top of it here with a couple of bungee straps on it. That's intended to hold paperwork that you might have. I've seen mixed feelings about how well that holds on to stuff, but yeah, it's not going to hold that manual in there. So it looks like basically my tools are going to end up in a plastic bag tossed in here, because nothing really fits into any of the created cavities that they have in here. It's supposed to hold spare chains and tools and bottles of lubricants and things like that. It's not going to work out for what I wanted to use it for, but the main thing I wanted to accomplish is every time you use a chainsaw, it's always going to have a certain amount of oil that's in the bar. Up underneath of this part here, you set it down on the floor, the oil leaks out all over everything. You know, you end up leaving oil stains everywhere you set it, and then of course the saw itself gets dirty from shop things. Since I do a lot of metal work, I end up with all my tools with black stuff all over it. So having a place where I can completely close it up is going to benefit the tool. When we transport it out to the mountain, it's not going to get dinged up being in a load. So I think it's a worthwhile case to use, and obviously any smaller chainsaw that you might have is going to go in here, because this is a pretty good size saw. It's not one of the biggest ones, but it's a pretty decent size. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, you might want to find out what this bad boy is going to get used for. So definitely subscribe if you want to keep in the loop, and we got lots more to come. See you later.